Who likes watching women fight? Wait, no, let me phrase that better. Who likes watching women fight? Wait, no, that's just the exact same question. Okay, have you ever read Record of Ragnarok but thought, where's the gender equality of violence? Okay, you know what, I'm just gonna quit while I'm behind. Majo Taisen, or War of the Greedy Witches, is a manga about desire. It's a manga about heavily fictionalized version of women from history using magic to beat each other to death, but it is also about desire. Agrat Bat Mahlat, Queen of Demons, has a desire. She wants to see people kill each other in the name of their desires. So, I guess that makes her the audience self-insert. To that end, she's gathered 32 witches, which is code for women that really wanted something to the point of creating great waves in history to get it. With the offer to make any of their desires come true, she has them participate in Walpurgis, or is it pronounced Walpurgis? Either way, a death match to determine one winner. Now, you may find yourself asking the same question lolly Marie Antoinette asked. How's that supposed to work for women who've never fought a day in their lives? The answer is the power of the witch. Agrat has granted all of them the ability to turn their desires into magic and their greed into armor that will allow them to fight. An addition that makes most of the competitors, all pulled from moments before their deaths, rather eager to fight. Yes, I said most, but we'll get to that. Now, as much as I've come to generally dislike the concept of accusing anime of copying each other because of similarities, I cannot deny that this manga does have similarities with Record of Ragnarok. I myself have called it Record of Ragnarok with women. I mean, look at their volume covers. I don't think it'd be too wild to assume inspiration. The tournament style fights between historical figures in an arena, spectated by what seems to be everyone who could possibly make a comment on these fights, and the characters involved, as the combatants beat each other to death and risk having their souls destroyed if they lose, with an announcer that hypes up the characters that are getting involved in each round. The similarities are there, but I honestly think they're surface level enough to be excused. Having the soul destroyed as a consequence for losing is an understandable way to give meaning to the threat of losing that honestly works better here with these women fighting for their selfish desires than it does in Record of Ragnarok. I mean, if you're already dead, you'll need a greater consequence for failure, and the fights don't really mean as much if there's nothing to risk. And you can't have a story basically be one long tournament arc without spectators, who it would be best could give insight into the fighters involved. There's actually a lot to be found in Majo Taisen that would never happen in ROR. I mean, even the very structure of the tournament creates differences. Record could never build hype for future fights by having one combatant one-shot another because there would be no future fight with that same character involved. Take the winners of the first 4 rounds. Having seen their battles, I'm hyped at the idea of how the future fights between them will play out, even if I think I can figure out the general plot of each one. Just because I suspect I know the what though, doesn't mean I can't be excited for the how. And I think the most notable thing about this manga is the biggest point where it differs from Shumatsu no Valkyrie, and that's the existence of the main character, Jeanne d'Arc, or Joan of Arc as she's more popularly known. I should make a thematic comparison between these two series and the meanings of their differences and similarities. Comment below if that's something you'd be interested in. Create enough engagement and the YouTube algorithm might actually push this video. Jeanne, or at least this version of the Maid of Orleans, grew up with no desires, simply doing as she was told as a result of very bad parenting. When the voice of God told her to go fight, she obeyed with no hesitation, and because she simply did as she was told, she was prepared to die without regret. After all, regret is only caused by failure to achieve your goal, and she's never had any goals. But then she got pulled into a tournament all about desire as the witch with no desire. Now, Jeanne clearly exists as a broad window to explore the concept of desire, but there is one thing about her existence that must be acknowledged. The main character is probably going to win.
I hand over this victory to...
The simple fact Joan exists makes it clear that the unpredictability of the fights isn't a high priority as compared to, say, Record of Ragnarok. I mean, the first time I felt the idea of who could win was actually up in the air was the third fight, and even then I feel most people would have probably been able to guess who would win. Majo Taisen has several characters of such plot importance that it's hard to believe they lose their first fights. They have plot armor. Not the negative kind people use to complain about characters surviving things they shouldn't. The kind where you know the important characters aren't going to die before they fulfill their narrative purpose, even if you are currently watching them be in a life-threatening situation. I have been sitting on a script for a video on plot armor for like a year now, and I've never actually gotten around to making it. Knowing who is going to win doesn't really ruin fights though. I mean, look at most anime with a main character. Hell, look at most action series with a main character. I highly doubt most of the people who watch the John Wick movies actually expect John to die. Not to spoil too much, but Joan of Arc's own desire that keeps her in the story isn't really a big twist. It's probably the second idea that would occur to you if I fully describe the concept of her character. But the execution and how that desire relates to her fellow fighters allows for a better view into the nature of her opponents. I wouldn't say she's hit her full narrative potential just yet though. Full honesty, she's a bit boring as she is. I mean, she's literally a blank slate. Fortunately, until her next fight, she's pretty much just a spectator, and I fully expect her next fight to be something that will really add to her character. After all, like I said, having seen them fight in the first few rounds, we get to build hype for the potential clashes that we get to see in the future. But now that we have the premise down, how are the actual fights? I find the main appeal of Majo Taisen is its unpredictability. While yes, there are characters who are clearly important and thus will probably survive, and even then that's not always a guarantee, that doesn't strip the series of its bombastic unpredictability as the witches reveal their powers and must find ways to get around the various weaknesses presented to them because of it. And while we're still only technically on the first stage, in fact as of writing this script we aren't even halfway through the first stage, there's anticipation built up for the second fight between the characters that we're now properly aware of. But there's also the aspect of desire and the thematic reflection of the fights. Each witch has a backstory and a desire they are fighting for to build narrative investment, and the outcome of the fights are usually tied to the purity and specifics of their desire. On top of that, there's the possible motivation of Agrat, and if she's really doing this for the reason she claims she is. I won't spoil the fights beyond telling you the main character survives her first battle, so I can't really go into it into this video, but the character interplay really makes this series, as well as how abilities rub up against each other as the fighters try to get the upper hand. Maybe I'll make more analysis on the individual fighters. If I were to compare the fights in this to another series, it wouldn't actually be Record of Ragnarok, it would be Naruto. Majo Taisen's battles feel like Naruto fights with more sexy fan service and less build up, at least for the first round. The second round's gotten a lot more build up. Moving on to another topic, the art. It's good. Sorry, I usually focus more on the story than art. The art is good, but it's not that different from what I would expect from a good manga. It excels in two different areas, the character designs and the translation of intensity. Just looking at both the normal outfit and magic vestment shows you how much thought and detail has gone into making each costume reflect the witch wearing it. Elizabeth Bathory's initial outfit is a dress one would expect from a high-class lady such as herself, but her magic vestment, with its dominatrix influences and the painful-looking weapon, reflects something you would expect from one of history's most infamous serial killers. To add to that, the art is pretty good at translating the emotions of the characters to the scene, which is good when it comes to the normalish vibes of the story, but really comes alive when translating more negative and dire emotions like the desperation and rage of the characters as they fight to the death. If you enjoy your battle manga with larger than life characters fighting for their ambitions with supernatural powers with an air of mystery as to what the endgame is, so basically most shonen fans, and you're looking for your next potential fighting waifu, I'd say check this out. And if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and comment your thoughts down below, as well as subscribe for more content. Thank you and good day.